we've got a full moon in Gemini, and this one's going to boggle your mind. All right, everyone, let's jump right into it. So we've got a full moon going down on November 27th, 2023. This is a Monday. And here in my time zone, it's happening at 4:16 a.m., but please do adjust for your time zone. So this new moon is happening at 4 degrees of Gemini in 51 minutes. And yeah, so this full moon just really strikes me as the multiplicity of perspectives and something that we really want to watch for with this full moon. It really has the flavor of misinformation and propaganda. So that's something that we really want to watch for. You know, Gemini is a sign that acknowledges that there's multiple perspectives, there's multiple different ways of looking at something. Facts are facts, and bits of information are bits of information, and bits of information can be orchestrated to create a narrative of truth. But ultimately, we don't have all the facts, and our perspective is only limited to our own experience. So that's something that I always like to think about when the polarities of Sagittarius and Gemini are activated. And you'll see if you're watching this in advance. It's going to get a little confusing out there. It's going to feel a little overwhelming. And one way that we could look at this symbolism a little bit further is not only is the new moon ruled by Mercury, but it's also in the terms of Mercury. So we're talking about news, we're talking about information, social media, and everything that gets kind of spread around and feels overwhelming there. You know, we had an eclipse on the 14th of October, conjunct Aries. And I mentioned there that Aries is associated with war. Aries is known in mythology for starting the Trojan War. So we did get a war started under that eclipse. But Aries also has tremendous correspondences with social media. And there's so much pressure for people to voice their opinions, and it's wonderful, gives everyone a platform. But when there are stressful situations going on and unfolding, it isn't always helpful, that everyone has their 2 cents to put in. Ironically, as I sit here talking to you about mine. Very ironic. But anyways, that's Gemini for you. So we are ruled here by Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury's in detriment in Sagittarius because sometimes it just says too much. It doesn't filter itself. It just gives you the raw, unfiltered truth. Sometimes it comes back to bite you in the end, can be instigating and all of that. So the issue here is not that Mercury is in detriment. I don't necessarily have the biggest problem with that. I think there's tons of things to love about Mercury and Sagittarius, as you can revisit in my video on Mercury and Sag, because Mercury's going to be in Sag until early January, I believe, because of the Mercury retrograde coming up. More on that later. But Mercury is in a square with Neptune. So this is the king, queen of misinformation, of confusion, where the lines between reality and fake are blurred. So how do we know that we're getting the full story? We don't. This full moon is full of misinformation, conflicting narratives, conflicting dialogues, conflicting reports, and it's really hard to know where the truth lies. So my advice for this lunation is to keep an open mind. Okay, share in friendly dialogue. I realize it's not all friendly out there right now. Tensions are high. People are feeling a lot of feelings right now, and absolutely. But this is a configuration that creates a sense of overwhelm too. So if you need to take a break, if you need to kind of take a break from the news feeds, if you need to kind of take a break from being plugged in, this is actually not a bad time to do that, because it's going to feel stressful. It's going to feel chaotic. It's going to feel overwhelming. Something that Neptune can also do is it can really boost compassion and a sense of empathy for things that are going on in different pockets of the world that you wouldn't otherwise think about if you didn't go on your phone or turn on the TV or go on the internet. So yeah, this does blur the boundaries between here and there. What's happening over there feels like it's right at home in a way. Not literally, but in a way. So yeah, there can be a boundary blurring in a way that kind of creates a sense of compassion too. But yeah, it seems like there's just so many different narratives and so many different vantage points that it can feel overwhelming. So the best thing that we can really wait for at this point is for Mercury to enter Capricorn. Because at that point, we're going to get a little bit more of a factual, grounded report. The numbers will be more sound and thoroughly researched. At this point in time, mistranslations, just big emotions and passion. And yeah, there's just a lot to sift through with this full moon going on here. People making big, bold statements that can be divisive, that can also be going on here. Emboldened, impassioned statements going on as well. So yeah, the biggest thing is just, it feels overwhelming. It feels like our thoughts aren't fully developed. It feels emotional. Full moons are indeed emotional. Full moons heighten our feelings, but they also do have a way of bringing things to a head and bringing things into a fullness of view. It's just hard to sift through it all at this point in time. Something I did want to mention about this, and I'll just bring it up here because I wanted to mention this in my Mars video, but because this is happening in Gemini, I can bring it up here. Think back to Mars retrograde. What was going on in your Gemini house? We had eclipses in our Gemini house. We had Venus retrograde in our Gemini house, all within the last handful of years. And we had the Mars retrograde last winter and spring. So this full moon might be bringing something into full view on a personal level about what has developed and what we've learned in this sector of our own charts. So you'll have to look and see where Gemini falls in your own natal chart. But it's interesting because the full moon, Mars's retrograde is its full moon phase. And we just started a brand new Mars cycle. So it might be a fun time to reflect and think about all that's developed and come into fullness since Mars was last in Gemini, which was in the winter and spring of 2023 and the late summer and fall of 2022. So it was there for like 7 months, a really long time. That was a big development. So maybe this full moon can bring new awareness and appreciation for what's matured and developed in our Gemini sector of our chart. The last thing I want to highlight here is the square to Saturn. Again, that's going to be a continuation and a ballooning, if you will, of the issues that I mentioned in my Sun Square Saturn video around leadership and accountability. So we're going to see some of that here. And yeah, that's about all I got right now for this full moon in Gemini. I hope it's not too crazy for you. And if it is, it's okay. Take a break. But for right now, that's your astrology shot of the day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For a deeper look at how the planets are lighting up your life, you can book your next astrology reading with me, and we'll take a deeper look at your progressions, your profections, your solar return, so that you can go forward with a greater deal of confidence and preparedness about what lies ahead. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.